Welcome into the North Star Takes podcast. I'm Bailey Policki, and this is my co-host Jacob Alberta. We're mostly Minnesota-centric sports podcast, but we also get into some bigger national sporting events as well. Tonight we're going to talk about the Minnesota Wild, hottest team in town right now.
Let's go.
Winners of 5 in a row as of Friday, just off of clean sweep of Arizona over the last few games. Kaprizov and Fiala are just on absolute fire. Two superstars for this team. It's absolutely fun to watch compared to the boring brand of hockey that we've had to endure over the last however many years. I guess, what are your thoughts on the Wild? Are you kind of surprised at how good they've been this year?
Yeah, I am very surprised, honestly. I think they're a year early. I didn't expect this. Yeah. I kind of felt like this would be more of a growing period. It would be a growing year where maybe we'd still squeak into the playoffs. I kind of pictured early on in the season, especially before the season even started, I was like, maybe they'll push for that 4th spot in the West to get in the playoffs. I kind of felt like the cream of the crop would be the Golden Knights, the Avalanche, and the Blues, but the Blues haven't come to fruition this year. But Vegas and the Avs have been as good as anybody in hockey, so that's no surprise. But the Wild, I think, got to be the biggest surprise in this division. I mean, they're just taking care of business in that West division, especially against the lesser opponents. So that's good to see that they're honestly coming to the party early. And really, this is before we're even before our roster's even really complete. Honestly, but before we even get guys like Marco Rossi in the mix. So.
Yeah, I agree. Yeah, I think, obviously they're playing in a weaker division. They get to play teams like the San Jose Sharks, the LA Kings, Arizona Coyotes. They've just absolutely destroyed this year, even though they're a decent team.
Exactly.
We still have teams like Colorado and Vegas who are kind of the cream of the crop in the Western Conference. But I don't know. It's been really encouraging. Obviously, they have some good young talent. The goaltending's been outstanding compared to what we had last year with Dubnyk kind of just being a disaster.
It's night and day.
Stalock was a decent backup, but when you have Cam Talbot, he's just playing out of his mind right now. And then you have Kaapo Kähkönen, he won 9 games in a row at one point this year. He was our hot goalie. And then I think they sat him down for a couple games, and Cam Talbot just came in and basically stole the job right back. So
exactly, the
goaltending's been fantastic. I guess the only issue I see with this team right now is that they don't play Colorado very well. Yeah. Colorado's got a lot of team speed, which the Wild seem to lack a little bit right now. Their star players are quick, but from top to bottom, the Wild aren't the fastest team. So it'll be interesting to see if that's what the matchup is in the playoffs, if they can steal a game or two from Colorado. But I don't know. What are your thoughts there?
Yeah, exactly. I know. I think we can handle anybody in this division besides the Avalanche. They've played pretty good hockey against Vegas this year. I mean, they're 4-1-1 against them, and including winning the last 4 in a row. So I think that's incredible on its own. But yeah, eventually you're probably running to Colorado, even if let's see a matchup with Vegas in the first round in some scenario. But then get past that, and then you're playing Colorado. There's probably no way around Colorado here, and that's a pretty big concern this year is that we don't seem to play very well against them. But like you said, it all comes down to team speed. I mean, they got that killer first line. They got Rantanen, and they got McKinnon. They score a ton of goals, and it's hard to stop. But I wouldn't be too upset though if they can't get past them this year, because like I said, we came into the season with expectations that this would be a building year, so I wouldn't really expect them to seriously contend until next year. But I think anything that happens in the playoffs this year is just gravy. Honestly.
I agree. So. Yeah, it's good experience for sure for these younger guys. Kind of help build a winning culture. What I've really liked about what Bill Guerin's done is he's kind of swept the old guard out. He's gotten rid of Mikko Koivu. He's gotten rid of Eric Stahl. Parise and Suter are still around because of their contracts, but he's bumped Parise down to the 4th line now. So Parise's he's been hot lately, but he's basically been a non-factor this year. Mm-hmm. Suter is still one of our top 3 defensemen, but I'd say he's actually probably number 3 now. I'd say Brodin is pretty clearly our best defenseman. He's having a fantastic year.
Then we got the captain.
Yeah, our captain, Jared Spurgeon, 2nd best defenseman easily.
Exactly.
Suter's still good. I mean, he's still got some value, but you can tell that age is catching up to him.
Absolutely.
So I really like what Bill Guerin's done. He's just completely changed the culture of this team, and I think it's for the better. I think the Wolves and the Twins and the Vikings could all learn something from the Wild, honestly, with how they've handled it this year. So outside of Kaprizov and Fiala, who, going into this year, we kind of expected them to be our best players. Mm-hmm. The Eriksson, Ek, Greenway, and Foligno line has just been absolutely fantastic this year.
I know. They've definitely exceeded expectations. It's nice to see these homegrown products like Greenway and Eriksson, Ek take steps forward, because honestly, it wasn't like these guys were almost stunted in their growth the last couple seasons, I guess you could say. But I think it's coming into the playing with good players like Kaprizov, bringing him into the mix, it just makes everybody better. It's amazing what a superstar can do for it. Because I feel like even though they're not on the same line, I feel like just having the talent on the ice like him, it's kind of taken any sort of pressure away from like a spotlight, so to speak. Because like before, the Wild didn't exactly have like the clear cut number one guy, but now we do. And now I feel like there's a lot less pressure on them to come through because that. Whatever line Kaprizov's on, he's probably going to score or be at least part of some scores every game. So it's like they don't have to do quite as much, and they've just been exceeding expectations. And like I think everybody had decently high hopes for Rick and Greenway coming in. Then Foligno obviously is a nice veteran to have. So it's I think that's been probably beyond Kaprizov and Fiala, like you mentioned. That's got to be the biggest factor to us winning as many games as we had this year.
Yeah, absolutely. Foligno has been fantastic in the few years that he's been here. We kind of brought him in as just kind of like a fourth line tough guy, go rough some people up, go hit some people. He's been one of our best offensive players over the last couple of years even, and he's a true team leader. You can see he was out for a few weeks with a fractured leg. You can see how much of an impact he is on this team when he's out and they're not playing as well. Our fourth line with Parise, Sturm, and Bonino as of late, they've also been very hot. Nico Sturm has filled into that center spot very nicely. And he's a lot quicker than I thought he was, too. So I think he's a promising young player that could maybe even move up a couple lines over the course of his career.
Yeah, it's kind of wild, how much production you're getting on your fourth line because you don't really expect a whole lot, especially scoring from your fourth line. Like, it's kind of weird throwing in Parise in there on that fourth line, like you mentioned. But I think that kind of goes back to what we were talking about with Guerin and Evason, too. Like, they're building a good culture here where it's like they're establishing accountability where these guys, they have to be good players. They're playing well. If they make mistakes, like you're going to go sit on the bench. Like
exactly.
I enjoy that accountability, which is nice to have. But going back to the production of this fourth line, anything you can get out of this fourth line it's amazing. It's just a huge added bonus that can really help your team win those extra few games in the schedule. So it's nice to see. And I think having a guy like Parise though really steadies it with the veteran presence. Who he's been a good player for a while. Obviously not as what he once was, but I think it's nice that he's there, and I think that's helping. But
yeah, absolutely. So looking ahead to the playoffs here, we're only 10 or so games away from the playoffs. It's looking pretty likely that the Wild are going to finish third in this division. And so the way that the playoffs are set up, there's 4 divisions right now in the NHL. The first team in each division will play the fourth team in each division, and then second and third will play each other as well. Colorado was leading for a while in our division, but now Vegas has taken them over. And so right now the Wild are matched up to play against Colorado. How would you feel about that? And would you rather play Vegas, I guess?
Oh, I'd much rather play Vegas just based off of our regular season success, based off of all the games that we played against both teams this year. I think it's a pretty easy choice right now. But I guess you never know once you get the playoffs. Vegas has definitely had tremendous success in the postseason. So obviously you can't just be like, yeah, give me Vegas, we're going to win now. But I think, it's hard to say who we're really going to get because, like you said, there's a dozen games left, and like Vegas is up 4 points last I saw. But then you got basically Colorado's got 3 games in the bag where they have 3 more games to play over Vegas. So I still think they're going to rise to the top. I still think Vegas would pretty close to have to run the table here at the end of the year to maintain that first position. So I think it'll be Vegas, and I think that's who I'd lean towards wanting to play cautiously. But
I agree with you there.
I don't know. What are you thinking?
Yeah, I think the Wild match up way better with Vegas. They're not as quick of a team. They have some very skilled players. Marc-Andre Fleury is their starting goalie, and he's getting up there in age. He's had a good year, but he's getting up there in age. Colorado just scares me. We have not played them well this year. They've blown us out a couple times. Playoff hockey, you want it to be close. You want it to be exciting. I don't want the Wild getting blown out. I mean, maybe they would play Colorado very competitive. It's hard to say. But I think Vegas is definitely the better matchup for them. Kaprizov, going back to him, he's set the Wild rookie record for points, and he just passed Gaborik for goals the other night. So, I mean, what do you think? Do you think this guy's got the, potential to be, say, a top 10, top 5 player in the NHL?
I think he does. I think all signs indicate that right now. It's pretty amazing. You're in some rare air when you're throwing in, at least in Wild franchise history, when you're throwing a guy into the same conversation as Marian Gaborik. I mean, everybody, all the longtime Wild fans know how good Gaborik was for a period of time there for the Wild towards the beginning of his existence. And ever since then, I don't think we've quite had the flashy goal scorer, really.
Right.
So I think Kaprizov I think it's going to be even better. And I think, like you said, I think he's got that top 5 player in the league potential just because of all the things that he does that is just very rare. You just don't see a lot of. Like all these times, he just skates around, does whatever he wants, and then he just, whether it's him scoring or he's going to find a guy with some nice pass and put it in the net really easy. But I obviously we're pretty biased here, but I gotta lean towards him being a top 10, possibly top 5 player. Obviously, he's on a great trajectory, and I think it really helped him playing in the KHL, getting better. So then, right when he hops in the league here, he's just good to go right away. So I don't know. What do you think? You think he's a top 5 caliber player?
I do. I think he's already a top 10 player. Honestly,
wow.
I think he's that good. But yeah, like you mentioned, his skating is just elite. I mean, he can skate on the inner part of the blades, just kind of turn around, shift his body like no one we've ever seen before on this team. I mean, it's a shortened season, and he's already got quite a few points. Obviously, he's already broken the Wild record for rookie points and rookie goals, and we're playing almost half a season compared to what the NHL normally plays.
Yeah.
So I think the potential for him is off the charts, and I think he's going to be an absolute superstar for years to come.
100%. I can't wait. Yeah, I think it's the superstar of the Wild that fans have so long deserved in the state of hockey. I think some face of the franchise that we finally got. I know Parise and Suter kind of were that when we signed them to the huge contracts back in, what was that now, 2012, 9 years ago. I think he's even better than that. So I'm really excited with where this team's going and how we're trending here. So
yeah. Very quickly here as we wrap up on the Wild, are you okay with their decision to not do anything at the trade deadline? They made no moves, which, I mean, there didn't really seem like there was a lot of guys out there that they could have gone after.
Oh.
So I guess what are your thoughts on the lack of movement at the trade deadline?
I'm okay with staying pat, honestly, because like we said before, the expectations coming to the season weren't very high. It was just kind of to build and form some team chemistry with all these new pieces we were bringing in, especially Kaprizov. So I think it's fine the way we played it. I think whatever happens this year happens, whether it's like we actually make a cup run or not. I mean, I'm okay with not sacrificing the future too much and kind of more looking towards the next couple of years being like the opening the window. Like right now, I think we're opening it, but I think it's gonna be wide open come next year and the year after that. So I'm kind of good with standing pat and not making any too drastic of decisions. So.
Yeah, I agree with you 100%. I think it's best. We have 2 first-round draft picks coming up this year, so I think it's best to just hold on to them. Maybe you can make a deal in the offseason to get a veteran center that can be your first-line guy.
Absolutely.
I mean, yeah, there was really no one out there that I was really hoping that they would get, so I think it was best to stand pat and just see what you have in the team this year. If they can win a playoff series and kind of shock everybody, I think that would be fantastic. So, yeah, like you said, it's kind of all about building for the next few years and really maximizing their window that's coming up.
Absolutely. Yeah, I like seeing what we have in a year. Yeah, when the expectations aren't super high, we can kind of just see what happens. And if this team can win, great. If they can't, well, then we can make additions and trades in the free agency and off season here coming up. So
yeah. All right. Well, that'll do it for our Minnesota Wild discussion. And coming up next, we're going to chat about the Minnesota Twins.